So we've talked about bags I love but will never buy, and we've talked about bags that everyone else loves that I will never buy. So in today's video, let's talk about my holy grail bags that I have declared that I would buy, that I had planned to buy, that I aspired to buy, that I am now no longer 100% sure that I will be buying. And maybe it's just how I've been feeling lately and the changing priority that I've been putting on my handbags. Like, what a first world thing to say, right? But coming off one of my more recent videos where I shared my current commentary on why pursuing or curating a designer purse collection just doesn't sound as appealing to me as it once did, I wanted to share with you 4 bags that were hardcore on my wish list that are now coming off my wish list. This isn't even a matter of practicality or price, because Lord knows none of these bags are cheap, but it is a matter of reality. And that's my reality, that if I bought any of these bags, it would be a mistake, a very, very expensive mistake. I mean, sure, undoubtedly, I would love them. I would stare at them. I would play with them for hours and hours in my closet. The handbag lover in me would be just like over the moon to have these in my collection. But back to reality, I legit have nowhere to take them. And where I currently am at in my life, that's just not the type of bag collector I want to be. In case you haven't noticed, there's been a theme to my recent videos. I've shared how it would make more sense to only add bags that are practical for me and my lifestyle, and I've acknowledged that maybe luxury handbags have lost some of their luster or appeal because I recognize that my ability to fully use and appreciate them is just very limited. Now, I know there are those out there who would argue not to save your fancy stuff for a fancy occasion, but considering I know where I spend the most of my time outside my house, and that's either at work, at the gym, or at the grocery store, at the end of the day, I think I'm just too much of a practical person to be okay with buying bags this expensive just to do things that are so trivial. Now, yes, I already do have a Birkin 35 that I use for work, and y'all have heard my inner struggle about wanting to add a Kelly 35 now to also use for work, which I know is insane. So I guess you can say that I'm currently at the point in my collection that I'm reevaluating whether my holy grail bags actually have a place in my collection. Now, time will only tell if these bags remain off my wish list. So as much as I'm making this video for you, for YouTube, this video does serve as a reminder to myself. If I ever think about adding these bags back to the list, there's a reason why they've been taken off. First holy grail bag that is officially off my wish list is the Lady Dior. Now, at the beginning of the year, I mentioned how this would be one of the few bags I'd prioritize adding either this or next year, preferably in the size small in a color like latte or beige or sand. Now, fast forward to now, I've since changed my tune and said that if I were to buy another bag this year, or moving forward in general, I guess, it would have to fit all 5 of my perfect bag criteria. Well, for so many reasons, the Lady Dior clearly does not. Yes, the Lady Dior is small, but not too small. It does transition easily from day to night. It is functional in that you do have a top handle and a crossbody strap, but here's where it starts to fall short. It is a very boxy bag, and it's just too boxy for easy packing. Again, this is a new but big criteria for me, only because I've come to recognize that I don't reach for my designer bags while I'm running around town anymore, but I do want to use them when I travel. So the ability for my next bag to pack easily is a must. And the other criteria that it doesn't quite fit is the durability bit. Now, unless I can find the Lady Dior in some sort of grained leather, I just don't know how well the traditional lambskin holds up in like rain or snow. So if you do own the Lady Dior, please let me know. Again, my new approach to completing my collection, if you will, is to try my darndest to only add bags that will fit these criteria from here on out. But I still stand by this. The Lady Dior is a gorgeous, gorgeous bag. And I know there are plenty of you that will agree. But what I also absolutely love about the luxury YouTube community is I get to hear everyone else's insights, especially those of you who also consider the Lady Dior to be a holy grail bag for you and are blessed enough to own one. And just from all the videos I've watched, the Lady Dior does seem to be extremely polarizing. My main takeaway is that no one seems to be disagreeing that it's a beautiful, classic, iconic bag, but the general consensus seems to be that most people don't regret eventually letting it go. Now, just to summarize some of the key cons, and again, these are not my thoughts since I have no personal experience with owning the Lady Dior, but to start, The pointy feet seem to prevent the bag from standing properly. The handles flop around weird. It is a loud, clinky bag. Like there's no stealth to this bag at all. And now the updated flap closure does seem to be a step up from the vintage zip closure. But even then, the flap seems to be finicky to work with. And at the end of the day, this is a more dressy, elegant bag that may be hard to style down at times. Now, obviously, none of these cons go against my bag buying criteria. I don't think I'll mind the handles or the closure. I don't know, though, if the sound is something that will bother me, though. I don't own any loud bags, so I don't know what that would be like. But the not standing right is weirdly something I think I will have a problem with. But regardless, I'm scratching this bag off the list for now based on how, despite it being a holy grail bag for so many other people, it's also one that most seem to feel good about letting go of eventually and not regretting that decision. So see, you can be positively influenced by social media. Now, as a side note, my hubby is so surprisingly not a fan of the Lady Dior. So of all of my holy grail bags, he was the most happy to see this one go. I think it just has something to do with its overall like boxy shape. Now, he was also surprisingly the most unhappy to see the next one go. He's tried to talk me into putting this back on the list, and you know me, it's hard to turn down the opportunity to buy something that is hubby approved. So on that note, the second holy grail bag that is officially off my list is the Fendi Peekaboo. So this was the other bag I had previously said I would prioritize adding either this year or next, preferably in a brown color in the mini size. Although I've seen some beautiful pastel colored ones on Fashionphile lately. Suffice to say, I considered this a holy grail bag because I genuinely think it's beautiful, but let's be honest, one of the main reasons why this was on my wish list to begin with was simply because I just wanted to own something from Fendi. It really was that simple. Not that I am curating a collection to own something from every single major fashion house, but I mean, what can I say? I just really wanted to own something from Fendi. And if I were to pick among all of their bag styles, this is the one that spoke to me the most. But at the end of the day, same thing with the Lady Dior. If I'm primarily thinking of using this for travel, I don't know how easy this will be to pack. I think maybe easier than the Lady Dior, maybe. And if it's not going to be used for when I get to travel, at the end of the day, I just don't want to drop thousands of dollars to buy a Fendi Peekaboo bag just to take it to Walmart. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of bad to say about it. I mean, if it's on my wish list, suffice to say, whatever cons the bag has, I've accepted it. I'm the one that's changed, you know, like my criteria for what bags to bring home and my relationship with what I consider to be my holy grail bags, like that's what's changed, not how I feel about these bags. I mean, if I were to be super picky, I don't know, maybe I wish it had feet. A couple more thoughts about the Lady Dior and the Fendi Peekaboo that made it super clear to me that they no longer have a place in my collection. At first, my plan was to buy them direct from the boutique, meaning I was prepared to drop that 4K up to 6K plus for those bags, right? The goal would have been to have the whole boutique experience. Since I've never had a bad experience at Fendi or Dior, I've always had a wonderful time at their boutiques, but there's undoubtedly a part of me that thinks that would almost be a crime considering these two bags do not hold their value. You can get both of these bags for a fraction of their retail price, typically anywhere up to 50% off for a bag that is in very good or excellent condition even. And so knowing that I could save a ton on the pre-loved market, if price was the original deterrence for me, you would think that would only further encourage me to keep these bags on my list. So for me, it's a huge revelation to realize that even if I could spend less on these bags, it still doesn't address my problem. And by the way, if you are enjoying this video so far, I do hope you'd consider subscribing. Here at A Briefcase of Luxury, we love to chat about all things related to life, learning, and luxury. I primarily talk about my teensy obsession with handbags from the perspective of a business professor by day and a self-proclaimed luxe lover by night. And while I have no plans of quitting my day job, I'd love to grow this channel, and I can't do it without your help. So thank you to all of you. If you have subscribed, liked, commented, or shared my videos, it truly does mean the world to me. Now moving on to the other two Holy Grail bags that are officially off my wish list. Yes, I'm verbalizing this, so it's official. Let's talk about the big H. I've mentioned several times now that I've been on a hiatus on my H journey, so hopefully this makes more sense now. So the two bags that are now officially off my wish list are the Birkin 30 and wait for it, the Kelly 28. I'll talk more about why the Kelly 28 is off my list in another upcoming video in a whole lot more detail, but let's just say I don't see how it fits in my collection anymore. I don't see what gap it fills. So that video will be coming soon. But in the meantime, let's focus on the Birkin 30. Now, yes, I currently do have a Birkin 35 that is purely used for work, and the bag collector in me has been wanting to add a more daily, user-friendly Birkin 30 ever since. But the practical side of me recognizes that aside from the bag collector in me that just really wants to add the Birkin 30 for the sake of wanting and having a Birkin 30, the Birkin 30 serves a zero purpose in my life. It's too big for daily essentials, but it's too small for work. It's too big to take while traveling, and it's too bulky to pack. Like, I don't need to spend $10,000 at least, at minimum, on a bag just to take it to Walmart. Again, that's the ongoing theme here. Luxury bags just do not fit my lifestyle. In fact, with every passing year, they fit my lifestyle less and less. So at this point, I would purely only be buying a Birkin 30 as a bag lover and a bag collector, and it would be satisfying the 20-something-year-old in me who's always dreamt of having a Birkin but wasn't financially at a place to have one. I'm at that age now where, ironically, I am in a financial position to realistically own one, but I realized that's no longer the type of bag collection I want. And I have nothing to prove to myself anymore or to anyone else, you know what I mean? So even if I were purely buying this bag for myself, I don't know how much satisfaction it would provide. Like, I'm just at the point in my life where I don't want a collection of holy grail bags. I want a collection of bags I can actually and realistically use. Now, same thing here, a couple of closing thoughts about the Birkin 30 and the Kelly 28. We all know that quota bags under the size 30 are the most sought after, hence their astronomical pre-loved prices. And I think part of why I was drawn to the Birkin 30 and the Kelly 28 in particular is they are still considered suitable for daily use and not encroaching into like work tote or travel bag category, which I think is much more appropriate for like the Birkin 35 and the Kelly 32s and up. But in our current pre-loved landscape, it is possible to still get a decent Birkin 30 and Kelly 28 right at retail price, which to me opens up avenues for how and when I can add those. So if I wanted to be patient and wait for a store offer, that's a possibility. The 30 and 28 is easier to get than the 25s, but if I were to get impatient, I have the option of getting one pre-loved for at around retail price. So that makes these two quota bags more obtainable, you know. Now, just to clarify, does that mean all Hermes quota bags are off the table? Not necessarily, but I do recognize that if I did buy a Birkin 30 and Kelly 28, it's solely because the bag collector in me sees them as trophies to collect, nothing more. Like, they will serve zero purpose aside from stroking my ego, to be completely honest. So what's the main takeaway here? Just because I consider a bag a holy grail bag doesn't mean it's the perfect bag for me. So I guess you can say that's what's changed. It isn't my love and appreciation for these bags, but rather my overall bag buying, collection, and curating criteria. Like, that's what's changed. This really is a it's me, not you scenario. But when I first started buying luxury bags more seriously and more frequently, I must admit I did have more of a collector mentality. I wanted the pretty things no matter how impractical. I wanted to collect them and enjoy them like art on a wall. Like, I wanted them because I could, and it was like, again, fulfilling a young girl's fantasy of finally being able to have the shiny, pretty things she's always wanted to have before but couldn't. And I guess maybe the appeal of that has worn off a bit when I started to realize that my holy grail bags just may not be the perfect bags for me. It's the sad truth, but it's better to realize that now than to buy a holy grail bag just to pass it right along, because all it would do is sit on my shelf and collect dust. And yes, I'll find ways to rotate them when I go on my Walmart runs just so that they can get some use, but I'd be just as happy if I didn't use them on my Walmart runs. Y'all, I think I just need a more glamorous life, right? Like, my husband and I have talked about relocating either to a larger city or back to Europe even, just so I can have places to bring my bags to. Like, how silly is that? But I mean, no, really, this is a topic for another time, but work has been really good and busy, which is probably why I have had less mental energy to be thinking about handbags. And there's just been a lot of opportunities that have come knocking lately that could possibly lead to us relocating to places where designer bags wouldn't feel as out of place. But we'll see. I'll keep you posted. If you're interested in work-related topics, especially like career advancement type topics, I'd be happy to sprinkle those in every now and then as well. Now, if you have any holy but not holy grail bags like I do, I'd love to hear what they are and how they're working out for you. Best case scenario, your holy grail bags are perfect for you, which in that case, I am so happy for you. But if your holy grail bags turned out to be not so perfect, I'd love to hear more. So please comment down below. Thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.